You go out, you order a steak, what do? They bring you a salad. They don't even charge you for it because it ain't worth anything, because it ain't food. Salad comes before the meal. Salad is a promissory note that food will soon arrive. Oh, it's summertime now. My friends, family, they'll be looking to take me to places, amusement parks. Just get a video, put them in an amusement park. A lot of nay-nay rides at amusement parks. John, let's go on the loop coaster. Nay-nay. I don't loop. I half loop. And gravity says, nay-nay. All I need is a brief description of the ride to say nay-nay. Oh, John, you should come. You squat down, then it shoots you about 100 feet in the air. Nay-nay.
Good morning. It's Monday, Medal of Honor Monday, November the 20th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have military shorts, kill-loss ratios, destroyer, and the presentation of the Medal of Honor. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I shouldn't change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now 10 military shorts.
He was already a star of Broadway, radio, and film when he volunteered for the U.S. military, first as an intelligence officer gathering information on German U-boats, and later as a coxswain for the Coast Guard, where he would see action in the Pacific during World War II. Most know him as Oliver Wendell Douglas from the TV show Green Acres, but his name was Eddie Albert, and his heroics at the Battle of Tarawa saved over 70 Marines during the brutal and costly invasion. Albert repeatedly disobeyed orders of a salvage mission and instead pulled his craft close to the shore to rescue scores of stranded Marines neck-deep in water, being used as a shooting gallery by Japanese gunners. Though he would earn a Bronze Star for his heroics, he always deflected attention. "Please don't refer to me as a hero," Albert said in the only interview he ever gave discussing his wartime service. "The men that didn't come home, they were the heroes. I was just doing my job."
In 1986, missile after missile locked onto an SR-71 as it flew over Libya. But instead of attempting to dodge them, it simply outran them. The U.S. had just bombed a series of targets in Libya, and it was the SR-71's job to photograph the damage inflicted. But as the jet entered Libyan airspace, it didn't take long for the instrument panel to start lighting up with signals from missile launches. The pilot could have made a defensive turn, but instead he calmly moved the throttle forward, pushing the jet, which had already reached its official top speed of Mach 3.2, up to Mach 3.31. Still, the missiles could reach speeds of Mach 5, and the pilot knew he wouldn't be safe unless he could make it to the final turn of his route. So he continued to push the throttle forward, expecting to see an incoming missile at any moment. Just before the turn, the aircraft hit Mach 3.5, but it wasn't until an expanse of water appeared below him that the pilot knew he had just outrun a missile attack. On September 13, 1985, a United States F-15 shot down its country's own satellite as it orbited in space. And no, this wasn't a disgruntled pilot letting off steam. This was during the Cold War, when the threat of nuclear-armed Soviet satellites seemed real, and the United States wanted to develop an anti-satellite missile. But in order to see if it would really work against a Soviet satellite, they had to shoot down one of their own. They chose a modified F-15 to do the job since it was one of the only aircraft powerful enough to carry the giant 18-foot ASM-135 missile and climb to the necessary altitude to hit the satellite moving at 17,500 miles per hour. The F-15 pilot had to time his flight perfectly, hitting a series of waypoints with pinpoint precision in order to make it to the right altitude at just the right time. Then the pilot entered a steep vertical climb, released the missile, and held his breath. 300 miles away, the aging satellite exploded, making this the very first air-to-space kill.
This is why enemy combatants fear the A-10 Warthog like nothing else. The Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt II, nicknamed the Warthog, is one of the scariest planes in the sky. First introduced in the 1970s, the entire plane was made for one thing: blowing stuff up. That's because it was designed around one gigantic gun, the 30mm GAU-8 Avenger rotary cannon. This insane gun can fire its 30 by 173mm rounds at a mind-blowing 4,200 rounds per minute. Once you've heard the trademark brrr noise, it's already too late. It also carries up to 16,000 pounds of other mixed ordnance that can include 2,000-pound Mark 84 bombs, incendiary cluster bombs, and even mine-dispensing munitions. It's powered by two General Electric TF-34 GE100 turbofan engines that give it incredible maneuverability at low speeds, and it has a range of over 2,500 miles. The close air support plane is also equipped with night vision imaging systems, meaning no matter where you are, no matter the time of day, the A-10 Warthog can and will find you.
Normally, when a plane loses a wing, it immediately goes into an uncontrolled spin that ends in a fatal crash. But in 1983, one Israeli pilot did the impossible. He landed his F-15 with just one wing. It happened during a training exercise when an A-4N Skyhawk smashed into his right wing, causing it to break away from the fuselage. The pilot was new, and his instructor was telling him to eject. Instead, he did the opposite. He hit the afterburners in order to stabilize the aircraft and headed straight for the runway 10 miles away. In order to avoid spinning, he had to keep his speed up, which meant he came in at 300 miles per hour. As he touched down, the arresting wire snapped on impact. Miraculously, he stopped just short of the barricade. It was only after he climbed out that he realized he was missing a wing. Did the MiG-31 stop the SR-71 from spying on the Soviet Union? Capable of reaching speeds 3 times faster than the speed of sound, the SR-71 made numerous reconnaissance flights over the Soviet Union, which the Soviets could do little to prevent. There was the Soviet MiG-25, which had a comparable top speed of Mach 3.2, but it couldn't sustain that speed for long. In fact, it was really only the F-14, with its AIM-54 Phoenix missiles, that had any chance of intercepting the SR-71. That is, until the Soviet Union developed an aircraft to match the characteristics of the F-14. This was the MiG-31, and it was equipped with a missile similar to the AIM-54 Phoenix, the R-33. It's even been claimed that just before the SR-71 stopped its flights over the Soviet Union, 6 MiG-31s intercepted an SR-71 in an all-angle attack. Even if true, however, it's unclear whether or not the MiG-31 had anything to do with the end of the flights.
The Su-30 is a multi-role fighter aircraft developed by Sukhoi Aviation in Russia. It is a derivative of the Su-27 flanker and was first introduced in the early 1990s. That is a formidable aircraft known for its agility, firepower, and advanced avionics. The aircraft's extensive armament includes air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles, bombs, and guns, making it versatile for diverse missions. The Su-30 can operate within a network-centric warfare environment where it can share real-time information with other friendly aircraft and ground stations. The Su-30 is known for its exceptional maneuverability. It can perform complex aerial maneuvers, such as Pugachev's Cobra, which gives it an advantage in close-quarters combat. They have a significant combat radius, allowing it to operate at extended ranges from its base of operations. It can carry a large amount of fuel, enabling it to conduct long-range missions and stay airborne for extended periods.
On October 28, 2008, 6 Special Operations Marines in Afghanistan were stuck in a compound and cut off from their unit, while dozens of insurgents pummeled them with rocket-propelled grenades, hand grenades, and small arms fire. The trapped soldiers kept calling for air support, but the F-18 Hornets in the area couldn't get a clear target due to the heavy cloud cover. That's when 2 A-10 Warthogs showed up from over 300 miles away. When they arrived, the Marines were on the verge of being overrun. The house where they were holed up was on fire, and about 60 insurgents were shooting through windows, trying to break in. Flying low to get beneath the cloud cover, the A-10s made several dangerous passes over the insurgents, peppering them with their 30mm cannons and turning on their exterior lights to draw fire away from the trapped soldiers. When the Marines finally ran from the house, the insurgents were still close behind, but the A-10s continued strafing the enemy until the Marines made it back to their unit. How fast do you have to be flying to shoot yourself with your own bullets? Tom Attridge didn't know the answer to that question until he shot himself down during a test flight in 1956. Flying in a Grumman F-11 Tiger, he was at 22,000 feet flying at Mach 1 when he began a shallow dive of 20 degrees. At 13,000 feet, he fired 2 bursts from his 20mm cannons before continuing on down to 7,000 feet, at which point an object cracked his bulletproof windshield. Thinking it had been a bird, he turned back towards his base but suddenly realized his right engine was quickly losing power. He tried to land, but ended up crashing into the treetops just short of the runway. The plane was on fire at that point, and Attridge had to pull himself from the burning wreckage. Injured but alive, he later learned that the damage was self-inflicted. He had flown straight into the path of his own bullets. During their jaw-dropping aerial shows, the Navy's Blue Angels regularly pull upwards of 7 Gs, yet they never wear G-suits. Why? Combat pilots wear G-suits to counteract the massive gravitational forces that are exerted on their bodies during turns and loops. These suits prevent blood from pooling in their lower extremities, which could cause blackouts. But unlike combat pilots, stunt teams like the Blue Angels know exactly when they'll be performing each turn, which allows them to use techniques like muscle contractions to keep the blood flowing to their brain. But still, even the Blue Angels' Air Force counterpart, the Thunderbirds, wear G-suits. So why don't the Blue Angels? It's simple. The Blue Angels fly FA-18 Hornets, which have a tensioned control stick positioned right between the pilot's legs. Since a pilot generally rests their right arm on their thigh, a G-suit inflating would throw off their control and could cause an accident. The F-16s that the Thunderbirds fly have side sticks, which allow them to safely wear G-suits.
And that was the 10 military shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, the 6 fighter jets with the highest kill-to-loss ratio.
One of the most compelling metrics to assess a fighter jet's performance and effectiveness is its kill-to-loss ratio, an indicator of how well it performs in combat. Over the years, several fighter jets have earned legendary status by achieving remarkable air-to-air kill-to-loss ratio in various conflicts. Today, we'll present the top 6 fighter jets with the highest kill-to-loss ratio to date. Though these specific ratios can vary from conflict to conflict and may not always be publicly disclosed due to military sensitivities. But based on valid sources, we have managed to come up with just 6 fighters. This list will only include combat after World War II. As for World War II, we will make a different list soon. At number 6, the Su-27, a Soviet-designed twin-engine super-maneuverable fighter aircraft designed by Sukhoi. It was primarily crafted for air superiority missions, and subsequent versions have showcased versatility across a range of aerial warfare operations. It has a notable kill-to-loss ratio of 6:0, though 2 losses were there, but it was due to ground fire, which we will not count. The Su-27 achieved its impressive tally of 5 kills during the Ethiopian-Eritrean War and 1 additional kill in the First Chechen War. The Su-27 stands out as the sole Russian fighter aircraft with a positive kill ratio in combat engagements, though this achievement may be influenced by factors such as less advanced export fighters, as well as the poor training standards of Arab air forces. At number 5, the North American F-86 Sabre. This fighter holds a significant place in aviation history as a transonic jet fighter aircraft, and notably as the United States' first swept-wing fighter. It gained fame for its ability to engage in high-speed dogfights, particularly against the swept-wing Soviet MiG-15 during the Korean War. F-86 pilots earned credit for downing 792 MiG-15s, while experiencing only 78 Sabres lost in air-to-air combat, resulting in an impressive victory ratio of 10:1. According to Soviet records, the Soviets incurred losses of 335 MiG-15s in Korea, encompassing various causes such as accidents, anti-aircraft fire, and ground attacks. Chinese reports indicate approximately 224 MiG-15s lost during the conflict. While the exact number of North Korean losses remain undisclosed, insights from North Korean defectors suggest an approximate figure of around 100 MiG-15s lost during the war. Altogether, a total of 659 MiG-15s are acknowledged as lost, with a considerable number attributed to engagements with F-86 Sabres. At number 6, the F-14 Tomcat. A versatile American carrier-capable fighter aircraft is renowned for its supersonic capabilities, twin-engine design, 2-seat configuration, twin-tail structure, and all-weather adaptability with variable sweep wings. Notably in the service of U.S. Navy, F-14s achieved the remarkable feat of downing 5 adversary aircraft without suffering any losses themselves. These achievements included the downing of 2 Libyan MiG-23 Flogger fighters on January 4, 1989, 2 Libyan Su-22 fighter fighter bombers during the first Gulf Sidra incident, and 1 Iraqi Mi-8 hip transport helicopter. However, the F-14 Tomcat's most prolific users have been the Iranians. Originally exported to Pahlavi, Iran, during the era of the pro-American Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi in 1976, the F-14s were repurposed as land-based interceptors by the Imperial Iranian Air Force. Following the Iranian Revolution in 1979, the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force employed these aircraft during the Iran-Iraq War. Iranian claims indicate that their F-14 successfully shot down at least 160 Iraqi aircraft during the course of the conflict. It is noteworthy that while 9 Tomcats were lost in air combat, Excluding 7 losses attributable to accidents, the combined tally stands at 165-9, yielding an impressive ratio of approximately 18.33:1 ratio. At number 3, the Sea Harrier. A naval jet fighter, reconnaissance and attack aircraft with short takeoff and vertical landing, vertical takeoff and landing capabilities, played pivotal roles in Falklands War and the Balkans conflict. Its most significant achievement came during the Falkland War, where it held the distinction of being the sole fixed-wing fighter available to safeguard the British task force. Remarkably, Sea Harrier successfully downed 20 enemy aircraft during this conflict, with only 2 Sea Harriers lost to enemy ground fire. This extraordinary performances places the Sea Harrier in an exclusive category of jet fighter aircraft that remain undefeated in air-to-air combat, joining the ranks of the F-15 Eagle and the aforementioned Su-27. While considering these achievements, the Sea Harrier boasts an exceptional air-to-air combat ratio of 20:0, without accounting for losses attributed to ground fire. At number 2, F-16 Falcon. An American single-engine supersonic multi-role fighter aircraft originally developed by General Dynamics for the United States Air Force has found its place in the air forces of 25 other countries as well. Notably, the F-16's debut in air-to-air combat took place under the banner of the Israeli Air Force in the Bekaa Valley on April 28, 1981, when it engaged and successfully neutralized a Syrian Mi-8 helicopter. During the course of the 1982 Lebanon War, Israeli Air Force F-16s earned a recognition for their prowess by achieving an impressive tally of 44 air-to-air kills. In another theater of conflict, the Soviet-Afghan War, Pakistani Air Force F-16As emerged victorious by downing nearly 30 Soviet and Afghan warplanes, with only 1 F-16 lost during the engagements. In the broader context of F-16 combat history, the aircraft recorded 76 air-to-air kills while experiencing just 1 air-to-air loss, alongside 5 losses attributed to ground fire. Consequently, the F-16 boasts a remarkable victory ratio of 76:1 in air-to-air combat engagements. At number 1, the F-15 Eagle, an American twin-engine tactical fighter aircraft designed for all-weather operations, made its debut in air combat with Israeli Air Force's first kill in 1979. During the 1982 Lebanon War, Israeli F-15s achieved a notable success, taking down 41 Syrian aircraft, including 23 MiG-21s and 17 MiG-23s, all without incurring any losses. In the Gulf War, the F-15 played a pivotal role, accounting for 36 of the 39 air-to-air victories secured by the U.S. Air Force against Iraqi forces. Iraq acknowledged losing 23 aircraft in air-to-air combat. According to the USAF, achieved 34 confirmed kills of Iraqi aircraft during the 1991 Gulf War, primarily through missile fire. The various aircraft shot down by F-15 include the Mikoyan MiG-29s, MiG-25s, MiG-23s, MiG-21s, Sukhoi Su-25s, Su-22s, Su-7s, Pilatus PC-9 trainer, and 2 Mi-8 helicopters. As a result, the F-15 boasts an outstanding collective air-to-air combat record of 104 kills with no recorded losses. It is noteworthy that the air superiority versions of the F-15, namely the ABCD models, have remained unscathed in terms of losses due to enemy action. Importantly, more than half of these F-15 kills can be attributed to Israeli Air Force pilots. While the F-22, F-35 Lightning, Sukhoi Su-57 have any advanced fighters, they have not engaged in combat yet. Hence, their combat statistics cannot be shown.
And that was the 6 fighter jets with the highest kill-loss ratios. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, on board a U.S. Navy destroyer patrolling the Mediterranean.
main role is to be a deterrent. We're going to be a deterrent to any type of adversary in the region, and should deterrence fail, we have to be ready to fight tonight if required.
For thousands of tourists each year, Crete is a place of sea and sunshine holidays. For the destroyer USS James E. Williams and her crew, though, coming here is very much work. This one of many stops she's making during a year-long deployment as the flagship of standing NATO Maritime Group 2, the alliance's multinational task group in the Mediterranean Sea. SNMG-2, as it's known, includes half a dozen frigates and destroyers. Rear Admiral Scott Sciaretta is the man in charge of this task group, keeping watch over the Mediterranean sea lanes and NATO's adversaries.
Normally we would be doing a lot of training and exercises, and now, in addition to those training and exercises to always be ready, we're doing a lot of monitoring of the adversary. And, Ukraine is very close to the backyard here of most of our NATO nations, so it brings the fight that's going on in Ukraine very close to the borders and lands of our allies. We have a combination of extremely capable FREM frigates from both Italy, from the French. We have Greek and Turkish frigates and destroyers. The Canadians will be joining us soon. So, we continually flow forces in and out of theater. Germany, you name a nation, and we're flowing forces in and out.
The James E. Williams, call sign DGG-95, entered service in 2004 and is one of 70 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers in the US Navy. With 4 gas turbine engines, it can reach speeds of up to 30 knots. On board, it carries a fearsome arsenal of firepower, including Tomahawk cruise missiles, air-launched torpedoes, and anti-ship missiles. These can be fired from any of 96 vertical launcher tubes on the fore and aft decks of the ship. For defence, the destroyer is fitted with the Spy-1 radar system, which beams out from 2 octagon-shaped plates on the ship's superstructure. This gives it 360-degree vision, enabling it to track up to 800 targets at a range of more than 200 miles.
On to 130% now. Very well.
Today, the task group is conducting a live firing exercise. The warships training their guns on this small, uninhabited island, part of a Greek naval firing range. It involves some delicate navigation, managing the ship's speed and direction, so they're in the right position to fire the 5-inch gun. To clear the range, they not only have to check the airspace above is empty, but also the sea below, making sure there's no submarines that could be damaged by wayward shells. After the bigger weapon, it's the turn of the ship's 25mm gun. The James E. Williams has one of these on each side. Their nicknames, Thelma and Louise. More than 300 men and women serve on this destroyer. This deployment will take them away from their base in Norfolk, Virginia, for 6 months. This is a multinational task group, and that's reflected on board ship. Among the Admiral's staff, there's Greek, Turkish, Spanish and Romanian officers, plus a British anti-submarine warfare specialist. The war in Ukraine, of course, has focused NATO's mind very much on the need to remain united. In this maritime group, for instance, there are both Turkish and Greek ships, nations that don't traditionally see eye to eye, but here they're working together along with a host of other nations in a common cause. But why does NATO need to patrol the Med?
The Mediterranean is a really important region with the Straits of Gibraltar, narrow choke point, susceptible to terrorist attack if ever there was one, so we police that element. We've also got the Strait up into the Black Sea, and obviously we are at the northern end of the Suez Canal. So 3 key lines of information around the world centre and go through the Mediterranean. There's a lot of traffic here. We monitor illegal activity and also non-NATO activity in the Mediterranean.
As well as this destroyer, the US Navy also has an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean. So how is the war in Ukraine affecting the way they operate?
NATO's always had an interest in Mediterranean regional security and stability. I would say even now with things going on in Ukraine, that adds a different dynamic to this area. There's an active war in this theater of operations. And so that makes the mission that we have here for NATO and on behalf of MARCOM all that more important, as there is active hostilities in the region.
When you come down below in this ship, you really get a sense of how confined things are. Every single inch, every nook and cranny seems to be used for something. And these destroyers were definitely designed for warfighting rather than human comfort. Now, 330 sailors live and work on board this ship.
and many of them are very young, some just out of high school, and this deployment is the first time they've left the United States of America.
Providing a taste of home are the ship's team of chefs. Here in the galley, they prepare hundreds of meals every day.
We like to think that the galley is the heart of the ship. Okay, so we serve about 900 meals per day, and a part of that, we feed about 300 plus individuals each day, right? So a byproduct of us being able to supply healthy, nourishing meals to the crew is to be able to make sure that they are able to go forth and accomplish the mission set forth. Okay, so we have very specific days like Taco Day, Burger Day is a big one, and then Pizza and Wing Night. That's a pretty good one. We try to make sure that the atmosphere here and the morale here is up to standard. That way, when they're producing food with joy, they're producing food with love, and they understand what our mission is to be able to impact the team.
The ship's enlisted sailors, several hundred of them, eat here on the mess deck. On the wall, there's a reminder of how this vessel earned its name. Boatswain's mate James E. Williams served on river patrol boats during the Vietnam War. During one legendary battle, he destroyed 65 enemy boats, his actions earning him the Medal of Honor, which is on display on board the ship. Here, too, a U.S. military tradition, the empty table, a reminder of those held prisoner or missing in action. Tucked away in the bow of the destroyer is one of the busiest areas on board, the ship's store. On offer here, a vast selection of American snacks, supplements and merchandise.
Thank you. Have a good day.
With more than 300 sailors on board, someone has to do the paperwork. In this admin office, they manage their pay and naval records. Priscilla Araujo is originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and joined the Navy 2.5 years ago.
My father is really proud of me. He's been my biggest supporter since day one. When I told him I think I want to join the military, he's like, okay, that's what you want to do. And my entire family behind my back, super proud.
I don't have to put to or from anywhere, right? No, that's good.
For sailors away on deployment, mail is another vital link to home. The ship's post office will send and collect mail each time the destroyer docks. Everything from letters to Amazon parcels.
But Amazon is great for getting, people forget stuff. They want, they decide, oh man, I've got a craving for some, flaming hot Cheetos, and, they can order it and it'll be here usually 2 weeks to a month. I mean, it's not prime delivery where it's next day, but it's still better than waiting 6 months before we get back, so.
For many of these sailors, these deployments mean long separations from their families and children. One of the walls carries a gallery of new arrivals. This can be a tough and intense existence. Confined spaces, little privacy, and sporadic contact with home can be difficult to deal with.
Rejoice.
Traditionally, ships this size didn't have their own chaplain, but that's changing. Like many of her flock, Hayley Moffat, known as Chaps, is new to ocean life. She's spending the next 2 years attached to the James E. Williams, offering support, kindness, and a listening ear to anyone who needs it.
We recognize in each other. You signed the same dotted line that I did that said that we are willing, if necessary, to give our lives in defense of our nation, in defense of our ideals, in defense of democracy. And it's truly just absolutely heart-changing to be around people like that regardless of whether they're 18, 37, 47, so on and so forth, these are people united by that bond of saying we're willing to do what it takes to defend our nation, to uphold our ideals, our values, to support our allies. It's incredible. They're inspiring, and because they give so much, because they sacrifice so much, I believe that each and every one of them deserves to have someone that they can go to. That's the least I can do on behalf of these people who every day just give so much for others.
One of the youngest sailors on board is mechanic Kerry Feibel from Louisiana. At the age of just 19, she's already served in the Navy for 2 years.
I became a dental assistant before I joined, and I realized I didn't really want to do that at the moment, so I figured why not? Growing up, I always helped my dad work on cars and everything, so I guess I just like to work with my hands, so I figured why not be a mechanic.
In the depths of the ship are the dormitories where the crews sleep. Down here it feels like permanent night. The red lighting designed to help sailors preserve their night vision. This tightly packed berth is home to 80 men, their bunks stacked 3 high, in what US sailors call, for obvious reasons, a coffin rack. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers are thirsty beasts. Their 4 gas turbine engines burn 1,000 gallons of fuel an hour. The James E. Williams can carry 500,000 gallons of diesel, and today it's getting a top-up, linking up with a US Navy oiler called Kanawha in what sailors call a conrep, or connected replenishment.
So behind me is the replenishment at sea. We are taking on fuel. We have multiple stations that we can actually receive fuel at. Back here, this is Station 7, is one of the aft stations. We're taking on DFM, Diesel Fuel Marine. It's just the main fuel that we use on the ship to give us the juice we need to go. I would venture to say that this process at 250,000 gallons would probably take around 2 hours, about an hour and a half to 2 hours, if we were pumping at maximum pressure of 100 psi.
On the other side of the Kanawha is a Turkish frigate also taking on fuel. With its tanks full, the James E. Williams detaches. Cue another US Navy tradition, the breakaway song. One of the biggest threats to these warships is submarines, the reason they carry an arsenal of air and surface-launched torpedoes.
To my left here, we have the SVTT, Surface Vessel Torpedo Tube. You see in the movies a lot that submarines will hunt ships with these, right? But this is the Navy's way of hunting submarines back from surface ships. 3, 2...
TAO, Captain, kill track 2.
When a sailor in Combat Information Center gives a signal to this system, it will slew over the side, it will shoot a torpedo out. Once it hits the water over the side, it will ignite, and it will go on its mission to hunt its target.
Those submarines can also be hunted by these, the ship's 2 MH-60R Seahawks, a maritime version of the Black Hawk. Deployed from their base in Florida is Helicopter Maritime Strike Squadron 48, known as the Vipers. They have 7 pilots on board, plus a team of engineers and technicians to maintain the aircraft. Operating from the destroyer's small aft deck, particularly in rough seas, takes some skillful flying. In such a confined space, there's little margin for error.
They always say a boat landing is harder than what you do at home. You're going to take a little more power out because you want to get on the deck really right then. Approach starts from a half mile out. We're going to be at 200 feet, and then we try to come in and place yourself basically right over the back of the flight deck, about 40 feet. And try to match how fast the ship is going. So anywhere from 5 to 10 knots, somewhere in there is what we're usually looking at. And then depending on the pitch and roll, you're kind of coming in. So with the RAS system that we have, it's the probe underneath the helo that helps secure us to the deck. Once you're over the deck, that's what you're aiming for. So it's the little postage stamp that you'll see on the back of the destroyer flight deck that comes out. So we're getting over top of that, and then our air crewman in the back is conning us on over that. So there's a hole in the center line of the helo that they actually open up, and they're looking to try and line the probe up with that, and they basically call you on. So you're hearing left one, right one, forward one, aft one, all that kind of stuff from them. So really just fly down to the deck and then listen to their calls to get you down safe on deck.
To mark the James E. Williams leadership role, the other members of the task group, Greek, Turkish, French and Italian ships, periodically pass by, practicing manoeuvring in formation, but also as naval tradition dictates, paying their respects to the flagship. This summer, this American warship will hand over to a British Royal Navy destroyer. Until then, though, for her crew, there's months of hard work and thousands of sea miles still to cover as they continue NATO's mission in the Med. Simon.
And that was the onboard the U.S. Navy destroyer patrolling the Mediterranean. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the former president, Donald Trump, awards the Medal of Honor to Sergeant Major Thomas Paine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by Medal of Honor recipient, Sergeant Major Thomas P. Paine, United States Army.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Almighty God, on this day of national remembrance, we pray as the psalmist of old. Deliver us, O Lord, from evil men who plot evil things in their heart. Maintain the cause of the afflicted and execute justice for the needy. Today, we thank you for the valorous attributes and actions of Sergeant Major Patrick Payne that indeed delivered the oppressed. You are the one who placed him in a family of love in a nation he loves, fostering the pure motivation of all warriors who fight for those who stand behind them. You equipped his hands for warfare and forged within him a heart that regarded the liberty of others of greater value than his own safety. You assigned him in the ranks of those whose common bond is uncommon valor when terror needed to be boldly confronted. Your work through him not only preserved life, but preserved the legacy of his team and the ideals of our great nation. Nevertheless, we know that opposing evil comes with a great cost. So we pray that the honor of this ceremony and the ministry of your Spirit would comfort the families and the teammates of Master Sergeant Josh Wheeler and Master Sergeant John Dunbar. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Chaplain Winton. Really a beautiful job, and thank you for your service. Please. Thank you. Today it's my privilege to present the Congressional Medal of Honor to a warrior who has devoted the last 2 decades to fighting the forces of terror. Please join me in welcoming today's extraordinary recipient, Sergeant Major Thomas Patrick Payne. Congratulations. Thank you very much. We're grateful to be joined by Pat's really wonderful wife, Allison. And Allison, thank you very much for being here on this very momentous occasion. This is the big one. You know that. This is the big one. Also with us is Patrick and Allison's 6-year-old son, Aaron. Aaron, thank you for being here. He got a very nice little award back there, a beautiful pen, right? You're going to save that pen. Thank you, Aaron. I want you to know that your dad is one of the bravest men anywhere in the world. You know that, right? You knew that before. I think you knew that before we knew it. So congratulations to both. With us also is our First Lady, thank you, darling, and Vice President Mike Pence. Mike, thank you very much, along with Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. Mark, thank you. Congressman Richard Hudson. Richard, thank you very much. Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy. Thanks, Ryan. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley. Mark, thank you very much. It's amazing the way all these big generals are showing up. This is something, huh? This is the big one, as I say, always do. It always will be. The Army Chief of Staff, James McConville. James, thank you. Thank you very much, James. And Sergeant Major of the Army, Michael Grinston. Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize the 3 Medal of Honor recipients that are with us, Matthew Williams, Edward Byers, and Walter Marm. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's good. A lot of brave people are with us today. Pat grew up in a small town in South Carolina. His dad is a police officer. His grandfather served in World War II in Korea, Vietnam. Service to our country really goes through their veins very, very rapidly. Exactly 19 years ago today, on September 11, 2001, news of the attack on our nation's great great country. This was just an attack like has never happened to us. But it went through Pat's high school and went through his classroom, and Pat was sitting there listening. His teacher solemnly told the students that their generation had a fight to win. They were going to fight and fight to win. In that moment, Pat was called to action. He knew that his country needed him. 10 short months later, at the age of 18, Pat was in Army basic training at Fort Benning. Soon he joined the elite ranks of the legendary Army Rangers. Pat became an exceptional soldier, an expert sniper. He saw heavy combat in multiple theaters of battle. In 2010, during a deployment in Afghanistan, his leg was severely wounded by an enemy grenade. While recovering in South Carolina, Pat met with his wife, Allison. Well, that was probably not a bad wound then, was it, huh? It was worth it. I hope you're going to say it was worth it. It was. Less than 2 years after being injured, Pat competed against some of America's toughest warriors and won the prestigious Best Ranger competition, among the most grueling physical contests anywhere in the country. In October of 2015, on his 14th deployment, Pat was part of a team assigned to plan and conduct an operation to rescue over 70 Kurdish prisoners being held by ISIS barbarians in Iraq. The team soon received horrifying intelligence that the terrorists were planning to massacre their captives and bury them in freshly dug graves. Pat and his teammates raced into action. After midnight on October 22nd, Pat boarded a helicopter and departed on a mission to free the hostages from 2 buildings guarded by dozens of ruthless and bloodthirsty ISIS terrorists. He was in command of a team clearing one of the compounds. As soon as the ramp to his helicopter went down, Pat rushed into a blistering hail of gunfire. Pat and his team swiftly overpowered the enemy, secured the building, and freed 38 of the hostages. Then Pat received word that the rest of the assault team was facing harsh resistance in another complex. Pat turned to one of his fellow soldiers and said, "Let's get into the fight right now. Let's get into the fight." He saw that the other building was on fire, and he knew more of the hostages were still trapped inside. He and his team climbed up ladders to the roof and opened up fire on the enemy. Multiple ISIS fighters detonated suicide vests, ripping a portion of the building into pieces. But Pat and his fellow Rangers fought through the fire, the bullets, and the deadly blasts. Pat navigated to the front door and saw the captives were being held behind a metal door secured by 2 very heavy padlocks. He grabbed a pair of bolt cutters and ran through smoldering flame and smoke. As bullets impacted all around him, Pat succeeded in cutting one of the locks before scorching, sweltering heat forced him to leave the building for some air. Pat caught his breath in a few seconds and was back. He ran right back into that raging blaze. He sliced the final lock and released the rest of the hostages. As the building began to collapse, he received orders to evacuate, but he refused to do so. He didn't want to leave anyone behind. Pat ran back into the burning building that was collapsing 2 more times. He saved multiple hostages, and he was the last man to leave. He wouldn't leave. No matter what they said, no matter who ordered him to do it, he wouldn't do it. He was the last one out. It was one of the largest and most daring rescue missions in American history. Pat and his team rescued 75 captives and killed 20 ISIS terrorists. Pat, you embody the righteous glory of American valor. We stand in awe of your heroic daring and gallant deeds. You truly went above and beyond the call of duty to earn our nation's highest military honor. Pat would be the first to remind us that he was not alone that day. In the battle, one Army Ranger made the ultimate sacrifice, Master Sergeant Josh Wheeler. Josh was something, right, Pat? Josh was something. You've said that before. Today, we're deeply moved to be joined by Master Sergeant Wheeler's wife, Ashley Wheeler. Ashley, our hearts break for your loss. A great man. That was a great man. Ashley, where is Ashley? Ashley, please stand up. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ashley. Our nation endures because fearless warriors like Josh are willing to lay down their lives for our freedom. Our children can grow up in peace because Josh had the courage to face down evil. Our debt to him and to you is everlasting. And again, thank you very much, Ashley. We appreciate it very much. We will honor him forever. You know, that very special group of warriors, men, great men. Pat has said that as soon as our soldiers' boots hit the ground, they are ambassadors of the American way of life. Everywhere they go, the men and women of our armed forces instill our friends with hope, our enemies with dread, and our fellow citizens with unyielding American pride. Over the course of his service, Pat has embarked on an astounding 17 deployments in defense of our nation. General Milley, that's a lot, right? Is that a lot? That's a lot. Okay, I needed that little extra confirmation. That's a lot. He now serves as an instructor at the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, training the next generation of American warriors. Today, he joins the immortal company of our most revered American heroes. Pat, you personify the motto, Rangers lead the way, and you inspire us all. It is now my privilege to present Sergeant Major Thomas Patrick Payne with the Congressional Medal of Honor. I'd like to ask the military aide to come forward and read the citation. Thank you very much.
Attention to orders. The Medal of Honor is awarded to Sergeant First Class Thomas P. Payne, United States Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty on October 22, 2015. His heroism and selfless actions were key to liberating 75 hostages during a contested rescue mission that resulted in 20 enemies killed in action. Sergeant First Class Payne's gallantry under fire and uncommon valor are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, the United States Special Operations Command, and the United States Army.
Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States. Today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you to be honest, smart, and beautiful, and remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win.